Mine?
He did.
No. I didn't know whether you worked in the mine. You said you knew a lot about it.
Oh, I don't know a thing about it. I just know he worked in the mines all his life.
Never been in a mines, have you, Mother?
No. Honey, I don't see how you keep producing your billfold. That pocket's a big one. Chalky?
Well, we'll go around front if that's all right. You, Goldie.
Oh, I'm tired of you going anywhere. Just lay it by, will you?
Lay it by.
Yes. And quit getting me.
Do what?
Quit getting them old pictures of me and behave yourself. That's right, you're just
The madder you get, the more I'll film you, Goldie.
You're just as rude as you can be.
You better be nice to me. I'll just keep it going.
Well, now, I said turn it off.
All right.
Get up there and whip him, won't you, Mother?
Yeah, he ain't never had nobody hold him rough like I can do it.
Well, you convinced me. I'll run.
David Maynard got one.
Now, this is Delmer's place. We're gonna look way out there in the mountain. October and the leaves are changing. There's the little house there with Brenda and Goldie.
Like a hot tea.
And that's the big house.
One of my favorite outfits.
There's Delmer.
Plain.
We're gonna do some filming and talking. Just get a shot around here. Countryside. Way down there is his farmer grocery store. What I'd like to do, if you would, just talk a little bit about when you grew up, when you was born, how many kids in your family?
Well, I was born at Prairie, Kentucky. That's around here on Dick's Fork.
Uh-huh. That was a couple of miles from here?
Yeah, about 2 or 3 miles.
Yeah.
And there's 10 of us in the family.
How many boys and girls?
7 boys and 3 girls.
Were you the oldest one?
Yeah.
That put a lot of responsibility on you, didn't it?
Yeah.
I guess you had to raise them.
Raised on the old hillside farm, and we all worked in the field. And the old ones waited on the little ones.
Well, what'd you grow?
Corn, beans, and vegetables.
Well, did you use mules or what?
Mule, yeah.
How many mules did you have?
Just one. And one old mule.
That's pretty valuable back then, I guess.
Yeah.
Well, would you sell that corn at town?
Now we just feed it out to cattle,
Okay.
hogs, and feed it to old mule.
Yeah. Well, did you have any cash crop?
Yeah. Yeah, used to raise calves and sell them.
Okay. Did they have an auction then, or you just sell them to
No, just,
neighbors?
People come along want to buy them, you know.
Yeah.
Cattle,
Uh-huh.
the calves. They want calves more than anything, about a year-old calf.
Yeah. You mean for beef?
Yeah.
Well, it looks to me like it'd have a hard time finding space around here to grow anything.
It was hard. Couldn't grow much. Well, you tend to 8 or 10 acres of corn on these old hills, and you wouldn't grow 50 bushel of corn. Not
Yeah.
more than 50.
Out of 8 to 10 acres.
Yeah.
Boy, boy.
You grub it up, you grub all the sprouts out, and then you plow it, lay it off and plant it, and then hoe it.
By sprouts, you mean tree sprouts?
Yeah.
Well, wouldn't that soil wash off then when it rained?
Yeah, it would. A lot of it wash off.
So I guess after a few years, the soil wasn't any good at all then.
Yeah, about 4 or 5 years. You tend one place about 4 or 5 years, and then it wash off.
Yeah.
You have to go to another one.
And then it'd grow back up into trees?
Yeah. Maybe 8 or 10 years, they'd grub that out and tend it again.
Pretty hard way to farm.
Yeah.
Well,
Now,
now,
we clear up new grounds, go back in the hill like that, and cut all them trees.
Yeah.
We call it new ground.
yeah, okay,
And burn that timber all up,
yeah,
and wouldn't have to have a mule on that. We'd dig it in. They call it digging in, you know. Take hoes and scrape the weeds,
yeah.
and then dig the corn in.
You mean dig the furrows with your hoe,
Yeah,
and then you just plant it by hand?
yeah. Take a hole and dig a little place, and just drop your corn in there and cover it.
Yeah, yeah.
That's the way we planted it.
Was there a schoolhouse pretty close by?
Yeah.
About how far did you have to walk to school?
Most time about a mile.
Would they have a school going up to about the 8th grade?
Yeah, 8th grade.
Then I guess you had to go into some city to go any further than that.
Yeah, they didn't have a high school no closer than Pikeville.
Yeah. So it's nearly impossible to go on to high school.
Oh yeah.
You'd have to go live with somebody else.
Well, a lot of them would get them advanced books, they call them,
Uh-huh.
and study them, and then they'd go take a test. And if they'd pass a test, they could teach
Okay.
school like that.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh. So they just study on their own?
Study on their own, yeah.
Okay.
And a whole lot of people done that, and they go in Pikeville and they give them a test for a certificate, teaching a certificate,
Uh-huh.
and they pass the test and they get to teach it. I walked across 2 hills and worked for 75 cents a day. And they'd give us our dinner and have to come home for supper.
Well, that's pretty hard walking across those hills.
Oh, yeah.
You'd already worked all day long.
Have to get up before daylight.
Yeah.
And get to the place to work by daylight.
About how old were you then, Delmer?
About 15, 16.
Yeah. Because you had finished your schooling by then, hadn't you?
Yeah.
I guess you'd finished your schooling by the time you was what?
What little I went, about 12, 13 years old, I guess.
Okay. And then you just went to work.
Yeah. I walked across 3 mountains and worked for $2 a day.
And that was farming?
No, it's on a pipeline. Run this big 20-inch pipeline through here,
Yeah.
and I worked on that. I believe I was 16 years old then.
How long did you do that?
1 year. They got it done in a year.
For gas?
Yeah. Lord, they'd have a string of men up this side of the mountain and a string up that side of digging, you know.
Yeah.
And each man had a section to dig. I believe about 16 foot long. They're supposed to dig that much in a day.
About how deep?
About 3 foot deep.
With picks?
Pick and shovel. And if you struck a good loose place, you had it made, but most of the time it's rock.
Yeah, it looked like there's a lot of rock around here. It seemed like you'd be in rock nearly all the time.
Yeah, you'd have to dig in that rock. Man, that's hard.
Huh. Was that pipeline close by here?
Yeah. It runs through the head of this creek.
Yeah. Now, That was when you was about 16?
Yeah, about 16 years old. It's 24-inch pipeline.
Well, you was probably pretty happy to have that work then, weren't you?
Oh, I reckon.
Let's see now, Delmer, you're 83 now?
Yeah,
So you was born in
1914.
1914. So you're talking about 1930 when you was putting that gas line in.
Yeah, it was in the 30s, yeah.
That's when the Depression is about to hit, or did hit, I guess.
Yeah.
Is that pretty bad around here?
Yeah, buddy.
What are some of your memories of the Depression?
Man, you had to work. Well, you just had to raise what you eat. If you didn't have no money to buy it with. If you didn't raise it, you didn't have nothing to eat.
Yeah. Just wasn't any work for anybody to work for anybody else, huh?
No work for nobody.
Well, do you ever remember going hungry?
No, never did go hungry. We always managed to have didn't have much, but we had enough to fill us.
Yeah. Well, it's one nice thing about being on a farm. You could be self-sufficient there, couldn't
Yeah. Well, if you wasn't self-sufficient, you wouldn't eat. You
Yeah.
just didn't have no money to buy it with.
you? Wasn't any welfare checks being handed out, huh?
The old people got too old, they couldn't make it themselves, to their family. They just had to depend on their family to keep them.
They would, well, they'd just move in with them, I
Yeah,
guess.
just move in and do the best they could with them.
Yeah, yeah. Well, now, how big was the house when you had, there's 11 of you plus your mother and father?
We just rented, we just went from place to place. Why, Lord, we've lived in old houses you could throw a cat through the crack.
Is that right?
You can look straight up and see the stars at night, a lot of times.
Got kind of cold in the winter, didn't it?
Yeah.
Well, how many rooms would there be in the house?
Sometimes 3, sometimes 4.
That's the kitchen and the living room and the bedrooms too?
Yeah.
So there's 3 or 4.
There was, we'd have to sleep together, us boys, about 3 of us in a bed to keep warm.
Yeah, yeah.
And I have take old big rocks and put them in a fireplace and heat them hot,
Yeah.
roll them up in something and put them to my feet. Man, you're talking about something feeling good, that would. Stay warm all night.
Yeah, yeah. Well, there must have been 3 or 4 or 5 of you in a room then to sleep, huh?
Yeah.
Well, I guess you was ready to leave home when you got old enough to leave home then.
Yeah.
How old was you when you left home?
Well, about 18, I guess. I stayed home part of the time,
Yeah.
but I went to 3C camp. They had that. You remember that?
Yeah?
I stayed there. Went there and stayed a long time.
Where was that at?
In Frankton, Indiana.
Frankton?
Frankton, Indiana.
Well, how'd you hear about that and how were you able to find out?
Well, when Roosevelt was elected, he got that program up
Yeah,
as a government program. It's sort of like the Army.
yeah.
Only you send all your money back home, but $5. You got $5 a month,
Uh-huh.
and the rest of it come back home.
So how much did they pay you?
$1 a day.
Okay.
They give you 5 and send 25 back home.
Well, was that required or that was your option?
No, you had to do that.
Well, you sent that back home to your parents then.
Yeah. I didn't send it to, they would, you know.
And that was part of the contract you made with them.
It has a contract you had to do when you signed up.
I see. And that was the closest place they had the CCC.
Well, they had different places. They just, wherever they needed them the worst, well, that's where they'd send them.
So that would have been when you was 18. That'd been in 1932.
Yeah, that's about when it was, about 1932.
That was about when it was really getting bad, wasn't it?
Yeah.
What did you do with the CCCs?
Work on them farms, dig ditches through them big fields, you know,
Yeah,
and put tile through them where them low places.
yeah, for irrigation.
Yeah. And the drain where they have their creek, you know, it'd grow up and they'd clear it out.
Yeah. $1 a day. Well,
Yeah.
what'd you do? Sleep in barracks?
Yeah. Yeah, they had a barracks and they had a roll call just like the Army.
Uh-huh. Well, did they feed you good?
Yeah, yeah, fed you good.
I guess a lot of people are just happy to work for that.
Oh, yeah. Well, they was more signed up and could get to go. Just all that signed up couldn't get to go.
How long did you do that?
A year, stayed in that.
I guess that's the first time you'd ever been away from home, hadn't
I thought I was from out of the world.
Yeah.
Out there.
it? How far off was that? Couple hundred miles?
Indiana, I guess it's, yeah, about 200.
200 or 300 miles, I guess. How did you get there?
They loaded us up on a train. My
Okay.
Lord, there was a whole train loaded. There was 5 or 6 coaches and a whole train loaded just boys, you know, going to the 3C camp.
Came from around Pike County?
Yeah.
Hmm. Well, I guess you got pretty homesick, didn't you?
No, I didn't.
You didn't?
I'm making it better there than at home.
You didn't leave any girlfriends back here or anything that you homesick for, huh?
No.
So you worked there a year and then came back?
Come back and started working these little old coal mines.
Now you say those little ones?
Yeah, for about 2 years. And then I went to a big company, big Eastern Coal Company.
Yeah.
I stayed there 30 years.
30 years working for Eastern?
Yeah.
Was that its complete name, as Eastern Coal Company?
Yeah. They had changed names 3 or 4 times. It first started out as Ford Coal Company. And then it changed to Eastern. It stayed Eastern for as long as I worked with them.
Now back then it was all manual labor, wasn't it, Delmer?
Yeah, you load it with a shovel.
Well, did you pick it all out with a pick, or?
Well, they shoot it. They'd shoot it down for you, and then they'd have a motor crew. They'd shove your cars in there, and you'd load your car.
Uh-huh.
And then they'd pull that one off, and then they'd put you another one back in, you load it.
I understand you had some pretty long work days.
Yeah.
What time did you go to work?
Well, they had just a regular 8-hour shift. But Lord, you really had to work.
Well, that 8-hour shift was after the union came in, wasn't it?
Yeah. Oh, before the union come in, you had 10 and 12-hour shifts.
Before the union came in, what were the wages like?
Well, they didn't just give you what they wanted to. Some people made $1 a day and some $2. And some made as high as $5, just according to what the company wanted to give them.
Was there many accidents in the coal mines?
Yeah, there's several. They didn't have no safety rules at all.
Really?
You just had to be your own judge, and the boss would try to shove you in a danger. If you go, he'd shove you right on in.
Let you go, huh?
Yeah.
The boss get paid by the amount of production?
Now they got a salary. Boss got a salary.
Okay.
They made big money back then, them bosses.
Was there quite a few people work in the mine? I mean, as far as in one mine?
I believe it's 700 work at Eastern.
In this one mine?
Yeah.
It must have been a real
They
big
had,
mine.
3 different openings.
Was that 3 different layers of coal?
No, it's the
Coal?
same seam of coal, but they had different openings.
Yeah.
3 different openings.
Yeah. You're telling me one time, I remember a couple of years ago, about seeing stuff in that coal seam. You remember seeing anything?
Yeah, I dug out rocks out of coal.
Yeah.
It looked like bones.
Uh-huh.
And found one time looked exactly like a woman's leg.
Is that right?
Had its foot on, the foot and everything.
Did anybody know what it was from?
Now they thought it was really, it must have been a woman's leg back in the flood or something.
Yeah.
It sure looked like it.
That's all that was there, was the leg and the foot?
Yeah,
Right in the coal seam?
yeah, right in the coal. Come out of the coal when they shut the coal down.
Yeah. And they thought maybe it might have happened with the flood?
Yeah.
You remember seeing?
And, I gave it to some fella there, and he said he was going to send it off and have it analyzed. And I never did hear where he did or not.
Yeah.
Oh, it was just blind Blake. It had the toes. You could see their toes. And toenails and everything looked like.
Really?
Yeah, right on
But
the
it,
rock.
but it was it fossilized rock?
Looked like a slate rock.
Uh-huh. Huh. Well, that's something.
Yeah.
I didn't realize there'd be any kind of bones like that in there.
Me neither. Well, it wasn't a bone, it's a rock, but they
Yeah.
claim it looked like a bone, you know.
Yeah,
Claim it once was a bone.
what they call fossilized.
Yeah.
I thought all...
That's possible, I guess. People in time of flood.
just got in there and mixed in with it.
Yeah. And you could see wood and look like logs
Uh-huh,
and tree stumps.
uh-huh.
And you even find look like a leaf off on a tree in that coal.
Uh-huh. Now, would that all be kind of rocky?
Yeah, it'd be rock.
It wouldn't be like the coal.
No, it'd be something like a slate rock.
Uh-huh. Did you see very much of that?
No, not too often, just now and then.
Uh-huh. So, you got, how many years do you work in the coal mine at Delmer?
30?
30?
Yeah.
You quit when you was in your 60s, I guess.
Yeah. Well, the doctor took me out, wouldn't let me go back in
Yeah.
on account of black lung.
Well, when did you start your store?
I started the store in 49. January 49.
What caused you to start the store?
Well, there just wasn't iron here, around here, and I just put up a little old place out there. Just thought I'd do something extra, you know.
Yeah.
And,
Make some extra money?
yeah. I started with $80. And that put up a great big bunch of stuff for $80.
Yeah.
And that's all I ever put in it. And I just put the profit, you know, made out of profit.
Yeah.
I just buy it back. And in 7 or 8 years, I had a big store. For the time.
You added on to it, didn't you?
Yeah. It wouldn't be as big as now, but
Yeah.
back then it was
Back then, it's a pretty good sized store.
Yeah,
That's it right down there. We'll
Yeah.
take a shot of that.
yeah,
Using it for a woodworking place now.
yeah.
I guess all the kids around here came up to buy the popping candy there.
Yeah, they'd pile in there. And bubble gum, I just buy a big lot of bubble gum, and I never did sell none. I just give it to the young'uns.
Yeah.
I make them sandwiches. They stay around there and get hungry, you know, and I make them sandwiches and give them.
Give away your profits, huh?
Yeah.
Did people charge at your store?
Yeah.
Everybody did in the country, I guess.
Yeah. Well, you couldn't sell nothing if you didn't charge it. Nobody had money. Just,
Wait till payday.
yeah, wait till payday.
Most of them pay you?
Yeah. I got beat out, I guess, about $20,000. That wasn't much for that many years.
Over the years?
Yeah. Lord, I had a big business. I worked in the coal mines, come back in and deliver groceries till 10 o'clock. 3 or 4 creeks I deliver groceries
Yeah.
to people. And my wife worked in the store till she got disabled, and I hired a woman to run it for me.
Delmer, I think we need to move.
Yes.
Yeah, you overcompensates for the light. There, this is good. That's good. Well, now, when did you get married, Delmer?
30s and 36, I believe.
36.
Yeah. John L. was born in 38.
38. Now, John L., that'd make him 3 years younger than me.
Yeah,
And that was your only child, wasn't it?
yeah.
Now, when did your first wife die?
1975.
75. Had she been sick for a while?
Been sick for about 3 years.
Uh-huh. Okay. She worked in the store until then, huh?
Yeah,
So she worked in that store for about 20 years, I guess.
yeah. Yeah, she worked about 20 years in there.
Yeah. Did John L. ever work in the store?
Yeah. He used to gather pop bottles. I bought him a pony. And
Shetland
liked-
pony?
he liked to ride that little old pony, and he'd take coffee sacks and go around and gather pop bottles.
Yeah.
And haul them back on that pony. He'd take 2 coffee sacks and fill them full of bottles and tie them together and throw them across that pony's back.
Yeah. Was it a little Shetland pony type?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just a little fella about that high.
Yeah. Now, Delmer, I'm looking up there to that cemetery. Tell me the background on that cemetery. Who's up there?
Well, my wife's out there, my dad and mother, and my first wife's dad and mother.
Uh-huh. It's just strictly close family
Yeah,
members there.
yeah. I believe there's about 10 there altogether.
Uh-huh. I guess there's a lot of those family plots around, isn't there?
Yeah. There's some out there that's a distant relation.
When did you close your store?
1975.
75.
Yeah.
So you were getting along about 60 something years old then.
Yeah.
Now, when did you start your cable TV?
61, I believe, I started cable TV.
Now, you was doing all this while you was still working the mines.
Yeah,
You was a pretty busy man.
yeah, doing it extra. Of course, you know, John L. helped me on the line.
Laying the cable.
Yeah.
Well, what gave you the idea of doing it?
I don't know. We just got to, well, we started just putting in one of our own.
Just for your
People
own
got to
house?
wanting it, you know.
Now, which mountain was it that you did put the?
Mountain right there.
Okay, you're talking about that one right
Yeah.
there. Oh, wait.
On top of that hill there.
Right on top of it. Yeah. Now, do you own that mountain, Delmer?
Yeah. Uh-huh.
You own this mountain here?
Yeah.
Okay, how far does it go back this way?
I just own it up to this point back down the creek.
Okay. Then how far over here, this way?
Right on around through the hill, there's another holler in there.
So it's quite a distance over there.
Yeah, there's about 60 acres in there.
60 acres? Well, do people consider a mountain like that to be of any value?
No, I wouldn't think so.
Does anybody ever trade them or sell them?
Timber, if people gets timber off of them.
Uh-huh. When did you buy it?
I believe back in the 30s.
Back in the 30s?
Yeah. Late 30s.
You was pretty young then. How'd you
Yeah.
get the money?
I just worked it here and yonder.
Saved up a little
Yeah.
bit here and there, huh?
Didn't, stuff like that didn't cost you much.
You remember how much it cost?
I don't remember right now.
Would you think it'd
But,
be $200 or so?
Something like that. Got it off my first wife's daddy,
Yeah,
and he'd have given it to us, I guess. We had to give him a little money.
yeah. Well, now, how'd he come into it? Did he homestead it or?
Yeah, he hired it. His grandpa homesteaded it.
And that's the way you got, most of them got their land initially is homesteading?
Yeah.
About when would they have homesteaded around here?
I wouldn't have no idea about that.
Think it's in the mid 1800s or
I'd say
that area?
I'd say it was.
Yeah. Okay. Well, it's nice to be able to look out there and say that's my mountain.
Ain't worth nothing, but just look at it.
You don't think there's any coal in there?
It's been mined out.
Has it?
Yeah.
So there was coal in it, huh?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Did you ever work in a mine in it?
No, never did work. I worked on the other side,
Yeah.
Pond Creek side.
Had they mined it out before you?
No, it ain't been mined out long. They mined it out to the surface right over there. To where it break-in is,
Yeah.
that's where it fell in.
Okay.
And this side of the mountain, you can hear them shooting back in there.
Well, now, your property goes on up into this holler ways, doesn't it?
Yeah. Then it goes up the creek up yonder above John L's.
Above John L.
Yeah.
About how many feet is about? How far is that, Delmer?
I swear I wouldn't have no idea.
That's pretty good distance, as I recall. It's a quarter mile or so, isn't it?
I guess it is.
So, does your property go all the way up to the top of the mountain, or how do you
Yeah.
how they do that?
Goes from a creek to the top of the mountain.
Creek to the top of the mountain. Well, I'd say you're the major landlord around here.
Yeah, I owned a whole lot of
If you straightened it all out, there'd be a lot of land here.
it. Yeah,
Laid it all out flat.
yeah.
Yeah.
And I sold a whole lot of land. Sold that place over there. And I sold that place up in the holler there.
Yeah. Okay.
About three different places on up the creek up through here.
Had you bought those all in the 30s?
No, 60s, I believe.
Uh-huh.
Buy them and sell them, you know.
Uh-huh.
Made about $500 profit on each one.
Pretty good money back then.
Yeah, good money.
Well, now, once you got your... Tell me about that cable. You just put a regular antenna up there?
Had got three different channels. and we put it right on top of that point there and bring it down to the store.
Uh-huh.
Then we'd run it. We first run it up the creek a half mile. And I thought that'd be as far as we'd go with it, and then they kept wanting it. We'd go down the creek about a half mile, and we just kept on. We finally had about 20 miles.
About 20 miles?
Yeah.
Would you bury it in the ground?
No, we hung it on poles.
Well, so you put it in your house first, right?
Yeah,
And people started seeing it and wanting it?
yeah. We first put it in the store down there. People going in and out, you know.
Could see it then.
Yeah,
Yeah. I bet they got excited about that.
yeah.
That's the only TV around, I guess,
Yeah.
huh?
We started out with $2.50 a month. 3 channels for $2.50 a month.
Now, did you sell TVs by chance?
No.
You should have gone in the TV business. You could sold them all TVs, Delmer.
Yeah,
Tell them that's part of the deal.
yeah.
Well, how did you learn about the amplifiers and everything else you had to make it work?
There's a fella over here on the, over there at Williamson that studied all that stuff,
Yeah.
and he helped us a lot. He made the amplifiers, and he made a lot of stuff and sold us. And he come and help us out, get it started, you know.
So here's your technical advisor, huh?
Yeah.
Any problems you had?
We didn't know a thing about it. And he'd come and help us out and show us.
Yeah.
And that's the way we learned.
Yeah. Well, that was good.
Yeah. He made the stuff himself.
Huh. Now, how long did you run that?
I run it myself for 12 years. And then I give it to John L.
Did that take a lot of time?
Yeah, it took a whole lot of time.
People calling you all the time with little problems, huh?
Oh, yeah. Go out sometimes at 10 o'clock at night and work on it.
I bet you that was pretty aggravating at times, having people call you in the middle of the night.
Oh, yeah. And a lot of time people's TV go out and they'd call us.
Thinking it was your fault, huh?
Yeah. And a lot of them thought that we ordered, that their TV ought to never give no trouble. Thought it was our fault when the TV tore up.
Well, you took them to raise.
Yeah.
I believe you said you had, what, 400 customers?
Yeah.
Finally?
When I quit, we had about 400.
Yeah.
And when John L. quit, he had about 600 to 700.
Oh, boy.
He had a bunch of them.
How much could you get a month back then when you finally,
Well, at
then?
last time we got $12, I believe it was.
$12?
Yeah.
So,
We had more channels. We started out at 2.5, I believe, a month.
well,
3 channels.
did you have any expenses other than your labor?
Yeah, we had to buy all them amplifiers. And then at last we had to buy a dish, you know, satellite dish.
Yeah.
And we had to put in a lot of money that time.
Now, when you bought that satellite dish, what kind of channels did you bring in then? Was it some that you had to pay for?
Yeah, I had to pay for them.
Okay. Some of the premium channels then.
Yeah,
So you had that expense you had to.
yeah, we had to. See, we had to send in money every month to the radio or television station.
Uh-huh. Well, you didn't have to do that initially, did you? When you first started?
No,
That was
no, we
just
didn't.
regular
didn't have to
TV.
do that till we got the dish.
Yeah. Well, I guess that dish improved the reception a lot, though, didn't it?
Yeah, oh yeah.
When did you put the dish in?
It was in the 70s.
Uh-huh. Well, I guess you charged them quite a bit more then once you
Yeah.
had that dish.
Yeah.
How long ago did John L. sell it?
It was middle 80s or
Middle
maybe,
80s?
maybe the late 80s.
That's-
and he sold
When the big cable
yeah.
company was coming in,
Yeah.
they bought it off of him?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's a good business.
Oh yeah, that was sure good business.
Now, Delmer, how long you and Goldie been married?
21 years.
21 years.
Yeah.
Did y'all know each other when you were younger?
Yeah, we've yeah, I know just knowed of her, for years.
Uh-huh.
Wasn't ever acquainted with him. I was pretty well acquainted with her first husband. Used to work for him.
You used to work for Irving?
Yeah, in the mines.
Really? Where was his mine?
He had a mine down Big Creek here.
How many people worked in it?
I believe it was about 6 or 7 of us.
Did Irving own the mine?
Yeah. He just leased the coal, and built a tipple and hauled it with the trucks.
What do you mean he leased the coal?
Leased the coal
From the landowner?
coal owners.
Oh, okay. So he didn't have the mineral rights himself?
No, you just leased it.
Oh, okay. How long did you work for him?
I believe about a year.
Uh-huh. When was that? Back in the 30s?
No, it was, it seemed to me like it was the 70s. Somewhere
70s?
along the 70s. Back then, these mines would shut down. They'd run out of orders and shut down. These big mines would.
Uh-huh.
And I'd work these little mines.
Oh, it had to have been before the 70s. It had to have been in the 50s, don't you think, Delmer? Because,
Yeah, I'd say it was.
yeah.
Maybe 60s.
Uh-huh.
That's before Irvin went to
Just before he went to Cincinnati?
Cincinnati,
Well, that's
yeah.
probably in the 50s then, because Brenda and I got married in 63.
Yeah, he was dead then, wasn't
Yeah, he'd been dead for 2 or 3 years.
he? Yeah. Well,
So,
yeah,
It had to have been in the 50s.
Yeah, bound to be. That's when he went to Cincinnati, when he run out of orders and had to shut that mine down, and he went to Cincinnati then.
Just wouldn't pay, huh?
Yeah.
Well, had he been working the mine all of his life?
Yeah, he was a boss.
He was one of the foremen, huh?
Yeah, he had mine foreman papers, and he was a mine foreman.
How did you get mine foreman papers?
Well, you'd have to go take a test,
Yeah.
and you have to know about the ventilation and all this stuff.
Where did you do that?
The state had places where they give you the test at.
Yeah. Well, now, did Irving grow up right around here?
Yeah, right down the road here.
And so did Goldie, right?
Yeah, Goldie was raised up the road.
So y'all were all raised within a few miles of each other,
Yeah,
but you never really got to know each other.
no, Well, back then you had no way of going nowhere on just walking,
Uh-huh.
and you just didn't go nowhere.
Yeah.
I think him and Goldie married way back in the early 30s.
I guess. Let's see, Goldie's around 85 now, isn't she?
She's either 85 or 86. I don't know which.
Yeah, and they must have got married when she was probably in her teens, I guess.
Yeah. I believe she said she was 18.
18?
Yeah.
Yeah, so that'd have been about 65 years or so ago. That put it in 1932 or so, I guess.
Yeah.
Probably in that
Yeah, I
time.
think Phyllis was about 65. And I guess she was married about a year maybe before she's the oldest one.
1931, 1932, something like that.
Yeah.
Okay. Delmer, can you tell me anything more about your experiences with that coal mining? What it was like to go in there and what a typical day was like?
Yeah, Lord, I used to load coal by hand. You go in there and load in the water. Water'd run up to your knees nearly.
Yeah.
Come out in the winter time, your paint legs are freeze stiff in the winter time before you get to the house.
Well, it was pretty nice down in the mine, wasn't it? Didn't it stay, or was it cold down there?
Same temperature all the time.
Yeah. How far down into the earth did you go?
We went back in the mountain, didn't go down.
So you didn't go down, you
No,
just...
just went back in the side of the hill.
Yeah. Now, how much space did you have to work in?
Well, them rooms was about 25 foot wide and had a track in the middle,
Yeah.
and you push that car right in the face on that track and you load on each side of the car. You load one side and then you go around the other side and load it.
Now, would you blast that?
Yeah. You shoot that stuff down and you'd have to go in and smoke. Lord, you couldn't hardly see nothing. It'd be smoky and dusty.
And you didn't have any breathing apparatus, I guess?
No. That's the reason everybody's lungs got so bad. Breathing that dust and smoke.
That started bothering you in the last couple of years.
Yeah.
Well, how much from the floor to the ceiling of that coal seam? How high would you have?
Different heights. Some of it run high as 5 foot, and some 4 foot, and have worked in it 39 inches.
Now, does that mean you couldn't stand up at all?
No, you'd have to 39 inches.
Because it
It'd
was,
be something like that banister there.
yeah, it was rock above and below, right?
Yeah.
So there wasn't any way of standing up or doing anything other than
No.
squatting.
I
Like-
worked in it. When you aim to go from place to place, you'd have to carry your dinner bucket in your mouth. And just crawl like
Yeah,
a dog.
do the duck walk.
Yeah.
I guess your leg muscles got used to it and got
Wear these
strong.
knee pads. If you didn't wear knee pads, Lord, you'd wear your knees out.
How far would you have to go like that to get to from where you went in to where you was working?
Well, not too far, maybe 100 feet, sometimes 200.
Yeah.
And sometimes you'd have to, according to what kind of a job you was doing, sometimes you'd have to crawl a long ways to get something, to work with.
Yeah. What do you mean by long ways? About how far?
Well, sometimes a half a mile nearly. You have to go get something, and it'd take you a couple of hours to get there and back.
And you'd have to do that by crawling and squatting.
Crawling, yeah.
That sounds like a pretty tough way to...
I have went and get ties, and you couldn't carry them, you just pitch them. You stay on your knees and pitch them ahead of you.
Yeah.
Then you crawl up and pitch them again.
That's to support the ceiling?
Yeah. That's for putting the ties.
Well, that's pretty.
Hello.
That's pretty. Hello, Johnny. How you doing? Doing fine. Doing a little taping here with Delmer.
Oh, that's good.
That's Delmer's grandson. Well, those timbers, were they kind of like cross ties for railroad? Were they that big?
Yeah,
That's pretty heavy.
yeah.
Pretty heavy.
The timber's pretty heavy too when you set to hold the top up.
Yeah. Well, now,
And some of them be so heavy you couldn't pitch them more than the length of themselves.
how'd you do that with, did you have a couple of guys hold them up there and then tie them in some way?
Yeah. Well, you just set them up on each side of your track. You give clearance for your track, and you set your row of timbers right on each side of the track. And that would support the top, you know.
Yeah. How'd you know where to put those?
Well, you'd measure from your track over how far to set them
Yeah.
to give you room to get in and out.
But how far to put them apart? How'd you know how far to put them apart?
According to how bad your top was, sometimes it'd set them 2 foot apart.
How'd you know that, how bad it was?
By
What was it?
sounding it. You sound it and it sounded holler, you know.
Tap it with a hammer or something?
Tap it with a hammer.
Now, if it sounded hollow, what did that mean?
That means it's just about ready to fall.
Oh, okay.
And that you really
Means there
have-
wasn't anything solid there.
Yeah. And a lot of times you'd have to set cross timbers, cross track overhead from one side of the track to the other.
Yeah.
Top gets so bad, this straight timber wouldn't hold it.
So what did you put in place of the timber?
Cross headers, they call them.
Cross headers?
Yeah.
What did they do?
They went across the track, you know, from
Oh, I see.
one side to the other,
Uh-huh.
just like setting one over there and one over here, and your
Okay.
track was in the middle.
Uh-huh.
And this went across the whole roof.
Otherwise, you just stood them straight up on each side of the
Yeah.
track.
Mhm.
I see. Okay.
Yep, if it wasn't too bad up top, you could do that and hold it.
So you kind of created a lintel there. I guess that's what they call it, like when you put a brick over a doorway.
Yeah. Oh, they have it good now in the mines of what we had at then.
How's it different today than it was then?
Well, back then they didn't have no wire. There were no regulations, no safety regulations at all.
How did you get your air back then? Just
Well, they got it then like they do now, but they kept it so far behind. The company didn't have to keep it up, you know.
uh-huh.
And Lord, I've been so sick. Sick as a horse.
From breathing the dust,
Bad air. You're breathing bad
breathing air.
Yeah, it makes you sick at your stomach.
How did you know when it was dangerous?
Or you get weak, and sweat, get hot. It'd be hot, as hot as they could get nearly.
So you had to pretty well feel it before you knew it was getting that bad. There
Yeah.
wasn't any way to warn you, huh?
Yeah, and a lot of times you get down on it before you know it.
I bet you had to haul some people out of there, didn't you?
Yeah, I've seen them haul them out, yes. Just looked like dead people. They'd be so sick, you know, they
Yeah.
couldn't hold their head up.
So once y'all got back in there, you was in there for what, 10, 12 hours?
Yeah,
Eat your lunch back there?
yeah. I have been so busy, it never took time to eat lunch.
Really?
Bring it back.
Well, maybe they didn't fix you a good lunch that day.
Yeah.
What did you normally have for lunch?
Yeah, something like lunch meat or
Bologna sandwiches?
bologna sandwiches, and cheese sandwich or stuff like that.
Yeah.
That's about the only thing you could eat in there. You couldn't eat cornbread and taters and stuff like that. You had to eat something light because you had to bend over
Yeah.
and your stomach, you couldn't feel your stomach too full.
If you ate too much, you'd really get sick.
Yeah.
Never thought about that. That would be a problem.
Yeah.
Now, did you carry your own light? Was that on your
Yeah.
helmet?
That's carbide light.
How did you generate the gas?
I've got one out there now. You put carbide in there
Yeah.
and it had a water thing on top
Uh-huh.
and a thing you turn a little water on it.
Yeah.
Had to have a little water on it before it burned.
And then just generate your own gas, huh?
Yeah. It'd make pretty good light.
Yeah, I know. We used to make our own carbide gas that way
Yeah.
for welding and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Brazing back on the farm.
Yeah.
That's the only light source you had, wasn't it? It's those lamps. They didn't run any lights in there, I guess. How did they get those cold carts in and out? Did they have?
Had a motor.
Oh, they were motorized.
Yeah.
Okay.
At these big mines, but now these little mines, they pull it with a pony.
Must have been a pretty small pony.
Yeah. Oh, just little smaller ponies they could get.
Yeah. They breed
And
them
they'd string
special.
'em out to put maybe two to one car, put one in front of the other.
Yeah. They breed them special for that.
Yeah.
They work pretty hard themselves. It sounds like
Yeah. That's what we used when we worked for Irvin.
the ponies.
Ponies, yeah. But now that was a big high mine. You could put a horse in there. It's what they call cannel coal mine.
What kind of mine?
Cannel coal.
Why'd they call it that?
You could light it with a match.
Oh, okay.
It's full of oil.
Yeah.
You know?
Huh.
It come out in big old chunks. Well, the lumps you'd have to bust before you could lift them.
Yeah.
And you could load a whole car sometime just by your hand. Just pick up them big chunks and load it.
Yeah. I bet that put out a lot of smoke, didn't it, when it was burned?
Yeah. And it'd snap and pop just like wood when it's a burning.
Yeah. And it was saturated with oil, huh?
Yeah. And you could start a fire with it. Just take a match and it'd light.
Well, when you say that regular horse, so it might be 8 or 10 foot high
Yeah.
seams?
Yeah. Yeah, I've worked in it from 6 to 8 foot high.
Well, now, when Irving leased that out, what kind of deal would he make? Did he pay the mineral owners so much of the
Yeah, he paid so
production?
much a ton
Okay,
for maybe 10 cents a ton.
okay.
And sometimes they pay as high as 15.
Well, once he got out of the mine, did he have a truck he put it on? Did he have his own truck?
No, he just get paid so much a ton for people to haul it, you know?
Okay, so other people had their own trucks.
Yeah.
Then he'd sell it to, who would he sell it to?
Well, he'd sell it to a company. They'd have a loading ramp
Yeah,
and where them trucks would just back up and dump it into a railroad gun.
and pay him by the ton.
Yeah,
Then they'd process it.
yeah. They'd haul it by the ton, and they'd get a ticket. Each truck driver would have a ticket. That way he'd know how many ton he'd haul, you know.
Yeah.
They'd weigh every truckload.
Okay. So Irving would pay the truckers, and he had the responsibility of paying everybody, huh?
Yeah, so much a ton per haul.
Mm-hmm. How long did Irving mine, do you know?
He mined a right smart bit. He had a mine up in here during World War II. And then after World War II, he had that one down yonder.
So he mined all of his life, I guess.
Yeah, he mined for Turney Mining Company. For years and years, he was the boss.
Was he one of those guys that pushed the other people, huh?
Yeah.
Well, was he on salary?
Yeah. Yeah, he always got a salary.
Yeah.
He's a pretty good fellow to work for.
Treated himself okay, did he?
Yeah. He worked hard himself, too.
Well, now, was he older than you, Delmer?
Yeah, he was a whole lot older than me.
Probably 10 years or so older?
Yeah, I'd say about 10 years.
Yeah. Okay.
It might not have been that much. I believe he was 2 years older than Goldie. Goldie's 3 years older than me. That'd make Irvin about 5 years older than me.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, let's see. What else we want to talk about? Anything else come to mind?
No,
About talked out?
it looks like it. Right smart bit.
Yeah. Well, that's real interesting. Old Johnny's going down there to play some golf.
Yeah.
He's got him quite a little place to pitch.
Yeah. Him and John L. really likes that golf.
Do they? Is there a place close by?
Yeah. They even went and took lessons on that golfing.
Well, that's a smart thing to do.
Pictures or talking or anything. None of